Okay, hi everybody, and welcome to the SOE e-commerce webcast. I'm Eric Pystro-Cleaver, Community Manager for EverQuest, and with me I have Dawn Vercelli and Lisa Nicklin, and I'm going to let them introduce their own titles. So Lisa, would you like to kick us off?
Mine might take a while, but it is Director of Global CRM and E-commerce Marketing.
Okay, what does CRM stand for?
It stands for Customer Relationship Management.
Okay, so that gives us your title, but it doesn't really tell us much about what it is you do. So could you give me a little bit about your role here at SOE?
Yeah, so my role, the CRM side is really about having how we manage our relationships with our customers. How do we communicate with our customers? Are we managing to find out what they want and interacting with them at the right time, giving them the right offers, and includes things like email. So we're working on getting better with our email, figuring out what people want and sending them the right email. And then e-commerce is all about anywhere basically where we're transacting or asking customers to pay us for something.
Okay. So what's a normal day like here at SOE for you? I mean, what is, you get in, spend a while browsing email, play a little, Free Realms.
Cup of tea.
Cup of tea.
I think, well, it's hard to describe a normal day because it changes all the time, just like everybody else's day probably. But most of the time recently it has been working with Dawn on the prepaid game cards. I could be 1 minute working on a contract or figuring out a tax situation, the next minute working with somebody in the platform group on changing an implementation on one of our commerce flows, or working on a promotion, trying to work with the game teams to figure out the next promotion that we can run and pulling together some assets or creative for those.
Awesome. So what are some other things you like to do besides, working on asset flows? I mean, what are some things you do outside of work?
Don't get lots of time outside of work. I would say, well, I love scuba diving. Scuba diving is my favorite thing. I think I told you that's one of my favorite hobbies. And I haven't done any scuba diving in San Diego. I've been living here 3 years, so that's really bad. But I've been scuba diving in lots of other places. I like going out to see bands, going out with friends, gym. I like going to the gym, and I like riding my bike. Those are about the main things I spend my time doing.
Cool.
Or walking my dog.
What kind of dog?
He's a terrier mix.
Okay.
And he's a terror.
So, Don, why don't you give us your title and tell us a little bit about your role here at SOE?
Senior Vice President of Sales / janitor / window washer. I deal with the retailers, so when we have new products coming out or prepaid cards coming out, I deal with all the retailers, the Walmarts, the Best Buys, the GameStops of the world. Make sure that they have our product in stock, make sure that we have plenty of promotions within the stores, and continue those relationships as they keep going on.
Sounds interesting. I imagine that a normal day for you has a lot to do with contacting people outside SOE.
Absolutely, yeah. Most of my day is on the phone or emailing with a buyer from a Walmart or a buyer from GameStop, distributors out there that have our product as well.
Now, I hear you've been with Sony quite a long time. How long have you been here? What have you done?
Just coming up on 16 years. So I actually started at Sony with PlayStation 1 right before the launch of PlayStation 1. And did that for a couple years and then moved over to Sony Online, which was actually back in the day Sony Interactive Studios America. We became Variant, and that's when EverQuest came out around that same time.
Very cool. Oh, okay. Now, everybody, when they mention your name, always has to mention the band. So you want to tell us a little bit about your band?
I do have a Social Distortion tribute band that plays around Southern California, Socially Distorted, for all you fans. And that's quite fun, actually.
Well, everybody loves Social D, so.
We sure do. Okay.
So now that we know who you are and a little bit about what you guys do, let's talk about some of the things that have been going on recently. So we've started releasing our prepaid game cards in more countries. What countries have we recently been released in?
Well, I think Dawn and I have been working for quite a few months trying to get our prepaid game cards out in all other countries. They've only been in the US for quite a while. we've been working very hard on a Europe contract, which was kind of a hard one to do because of all the tax implications. So we do know that as of this moment in time, in the UK, Ireland, Sweden, and Italy, there are actually cards on shelves right now. They're literally just being put on shelves right now. So we're hoping, and we'll be doing a formal announcement probably next week, but we're hoping within the next couple of weeks they'll be out in all European countries on shelf. And it is actually it's this the SOE prepaid game card first, and then the Clone Wars card will follow.
Okay, very, very cool. Now, I know our international customers will love that. It's kind of hard for a lot of us to understand, well, don't you just put them in a box and sort of mail them over?
Yeah.
So what are the challenges that it takes to overcome to releasing in different regions?
So you want to?
Oof. First is always the lovely contracts and the tax implications, as Lisa was mentioning, and just working with all the different territories and figuring out what kind of cards, what games will work in those territories, and trying to work that way. But there's so many different territories and so many different restrictions each territory has that it makes it a little challenging, but we've been able to overcome those, and they're going to be coming out pretty soon.
Awesome. Now, something that I don't think a lot of people also don't think about is, what do we do when we release a new product? I mean, you guys can't see it on the webcast, but there's a ton of fine print listing everything that this card could possibly be used for. How do we handle it? Like, so we, release a new game. How do we deal with the cards that are out there? How do we get all that changed?
Well, we just introduced not too long ago in North America, or in US, the all-in-one SOE card, and that kind of aggregated all of our products into one, because we used to have just single cards out there. So that kind of got us up to current, if you will. So moving forward, what we have to do is just we manage the inventory that we ship out there and make sure that if we go into obviously new accounts and we know that we have a game coming out that we want to add it, or if a game drops off, obviously that. But you really got to manage the inventory that you ship out there to make sure that it sells through. So when you do have other games coming out, you can obviously redo the art and get it out there and get them up to date. Every now and then there might be a little lag in a few weeks or months, just trying to, because there is a lot of inventory.
Okay, cool. So we, like you said, we're releasing in new countries. For people in those countries, what are some of the stores they can look at for picking up some of these cards?
Yeah, I think depending on so we've been working on contracts in a lot of different regions in Europe. The main three retailers that we're working with are GameStop, Game, and WH Smith. And WH Smith are really UK based, and Game and GameStop are in the UK and throughout Europe. So I think the countries I mentioned before, in the UK, cards should be on shelf now in WH Smith there. Ireland would be GameStop, and Sweden and Italy GameStop. But when we do the announcement next week, we're also going to be updating the page on SOE.com, so we'll send a link out with that, and it'll show by each region where I can get the card and which retailers by country.
Cool. And since we are having double station cash, if there's any of those extra laying around, I'll be happy to test them out for you.
Well, I should say, since we're talking about it, the only reason we haven't done a formal announcement, it's really important to us to let customers know as soon as something is available. And Don and I had a lot of conversations in the last couple of weeks about how do we make sure that people know they're there. The problem is they're not out on all shelves yet in Europe, so we didn't want to go telling people and then have people frustrated because they were trying to go to a local retailer and couldn't find them. So what we have done is, though, activated those cards for this double station cash. So in those countries I mentioned where they are supposed to be on shelf, if somebody does find one or tries to redeem it during the double station cash promotion, they will get the double station cash. So
okay, which actually brings up sort of an interesting question. From time to time, I get a message from a customer saying, "I'm trying to buy the cards. My local retailer doesn't carry them." What advice do you have for those customers who want to be able to buy cards? What can they tell their retailer to get them to carry the stock?
If they go into a store and they already have prepaid cards, basically they would just have to keep asking for the SOE card. But, we're out in all the GameStops, all the Best Buys, the Walmarts, the Targets of the world. So You know, there's a few of those stores within those accounts that don't carry it. I do know there's some GameStops out there that don't have the prepaid cards in there, but most of them do, and I know they're adding more and more every day. So it's a little frustrating sometimes. I do know that, but they're out there. Sometimes the store managers aren't as up to speed, and
I think, I don't know, correct me if this is wrong, but I think it's some of the retailers too. The way they set the card up in their system can be the problem, because a customer goes in and says, oh, I want this SOE prepaid game card, and it might be set up in the GameStop system as a universal card, because that's what we called it when we were setting it up. So I don't know, and I think actually for GameStop, I think it might be set up as universal. So maybe that's a tip. If somebody's finding a problem, ask for a universal card. And
There you go. You guys heard it here.
yeah.
Okay. So we've released in North America.
Yep.
We're releasing in Europe currently. Do we have plans? Are we going to stop in Europe, or do we have plans for any regions beyond Europe?
Yeah, the key ones are the ones where we absolutely have contracts, which have taken us a few months to work on, but we have Canada now, but we're still working on figuring out which retailers we can work with there. Mexico, where we have some retailers identified and we're busy printing the cards now. We think and hope that those cards will be on shelf by mid to end of October. We'll definitely be doing an announcement on that. And then we're working with Australia, New Zealand, where we should hopefully have a contract
We're
coming
getting close.
up then. Yeah.
Cool.
Very close.
Cool. Okay, so let's transition a little bit and now talk about some of the e-commerce promotions and things like that. What are some of the promotions we run recently? Just thinking back over the last couple months.
I think the key ones probably in the last few months have been, we've been trying to work a little bit with the game teams to make sure that in the marketplaces they're having regular sales, so picking different items that people are interested in and having sales. So we had the 4th of July sale. We've been running some surprise and delight promotions, little ones to try and test things out there. And then we've got the back to school promotion coming up. The last double station cash we had was Easter, which was our last big promotion.
What is a surprise and delight promotion? Because that's something we hear around the office, but it's not terminology we use when we're talking to the players.
Yeah, I think what we've been talking about a lot, and this goes back to the CRM, how are we managing our relationships, is why are we always doing things that just look like all we're trying to do is take money from our customers, when our long-term goal is to keep our customers happy so they want to come back. And we talked about we should have kind of a policy of surprising and delighting. So it's not always about how can I take some money from you today. It's about giving customers something they weren't expecting that was an over and above, like when you go to a hotel and somebody knows your name, or there's that little element of, oh God, they know who I am, or they went the extra mile for me, and it makes them feel a connection with Sony Online. So we started testing out with little things. So I think Pox Nora and Magic the Gathering were the first two where we tried to run a little test, which was just a non-expected, if you buy any of these items, you're going to get some bonus station cash. So anybody who logged in that day, thanks for buying those items, here's some bonus station cash. And we didn't promote it because it wasn't supposed to be about where you're trying to make people who didn't want to go and buy something. So we're going to be putting in place some of those little surprise and delights every now and then, just a
little thank you.
Just a feel good factor, to make people realize that we appreciate them being customers.
Awesome. So is that your favorite promotion, or do you have a favorite promotion?
The favorite one was when we did the 7-Eleven day. That was cool.
Yeah, that was a good
Every
one.
now and then we'll do a specific retailer for a day, or that just happened to be a 7-Eleven day, but those are the ones that I like.
I was going to say my favorite was actually triple station cash. So only because double station cash obviously is a great one, but we really wanted to go another and just see how that one did, and that did really well. And we obviously can't do them all the time, but that was a good one.
I certainly know the people I've talked to who took part in triple station cash were quite appreciative.
Yeah.
They keep asking for it again.
We'll definitely do it sometime, but we're trying to just not do it every 5 minutes.
Yeah. What are the challenges? I mean, there's so many products that we're working with here. So what are the challenges in running a promotion that might feature 10 products?
I think some of the challenges are, and there's sort of a couple of different types of promotions that we're running. Some are very, just focused only on the game itself, and doesn't involve double station cash or anything across the company as a whole. So it might be, EQ2 wants to run a specific promotion. the challenge with running one across multiple games or a station cache one is getting everybody synced up at the same time, making sure all the games are lined up to release just even the assets to tell customers what's happening, getting the platform group lined up to make sure they've got the double station cache out and available for all games at the same time. So the station cache ones are actually a bit of a coordination nightmare. But yeah, other than that, I think sometimes more of the problem is coming up with a cool idea. Just coming up with something that's a little bit different or that people are actually going to want or be interested in.
Cool. So some promotions we do, especially station cache promotions, they're cards only. Some promotions offer us more flexibility in terms of how we're going to participate in that double station cache promotion.
Yeah.
Why do we have this difference, and what are the goals that we have for this?
Yeah, I think for me that's kind of an easy one. I think it's a really business-related question because I think, like I said, those bigger promotions across a lot of games or with station cache, they require a lot of work and a lot of coordination, probably more than they should. We need to sort out some of our systems, but on the Incon card, the prepaid game cards, I think we want to stay on shelves with the retailers. Don's got a hard sell because there's so many other cards out there, and we have to make sure that our cards still have space and are still at the retailers. So every now and then what we're trying to do is drive some sales towards those cards so that we can show a spike in sales with that retailer to say, hey, when we get behind this, our customer's really interested in this card and we can send traffic your way, and it keeps us there on the shelf, which is really the only reason we ever do the ones that are, prepaid game cards only, double station cache this weekend. It's really to keep that relationship going with the retailers.
Certainly it's got to make your job just a little bit easier, a little bit more to...
Absolutely. The retailers love it when we do that. We move the cards. We get the customers knowing that the cards are there if they didn't, because whenever we do these promotions, she promotes it. So absolutely, it's a win-win for everyone.
Okay. And for Labor Day here in the U.S., we're running a promotion. You guys want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yep, that's another double station cache. It's the first double station cache we've done. We did one for a couple days in May. After the outage, which was another sort of, let's make it up to the customers. We gave them a hard time. This is the first one we've done like this since the April one, where we've mobilized all the game teams to figure out. We went to each of the game teams and said, figure out something in your game that you can do, some activity that's going to get people interested, and give them something that they'll want, and we'll give them double station cache so that they, have the funds to spend on it. So really this one's about a double station cache plus there's something going on in all of the games, just different activities or sale items in each of the games.
Very, very cool. Okay, and the last subject I really want to talk about here is one of the more tender ones, and that's international pricing. In every game, the subscription price is slightly different from region to region.
Yeah.
It's one of the challenges, and customers always like, well, why is it this much in this region and that much in that region? And could you tell us a little bit about how that ends up happening and what we do about it?
Yeah, and I mean, I'll just be totally honest. I think in the past, we never really had anybody dedicated to pricing and international and looking across, at the whole picture and figuring out, what does it mean to somebody in Australia who's paying more because they're at this exchange rate when they worked the price out. So I don't know if you remember, but probably 6 months ago, we did a revision of all the subscription pricing and tried to bring everything as much in line as we possibly could. I think that was one step, but it wasn't all the way, and we need to go further. So as it happens, literally for the last 2 days, I'm emailing back and forth with the CFO, and we're having a conversation about taking that next step. So now we're basically going to move to a more formal procedure of, every few months we will go again and revise the exchange rate based on what's happening at the time. So instead of sticking with an exchange rate that was okay 12 months ago but is no longer applicable, we'll modify that every few months. So I think you'll see prices changing throughout all the countries a little more regularly and to be in line with local markets.
I certainly think that the international community would appreciate that. I mean, just having it be looked at regularly is a big win for them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's it for my questions. Do we have any questions from the audience gathered, Joel, or?
No questions from the audience today.
Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to thank you all for watching. Hopefully you got a little insight into a different side of the MMO industry than normal. And maybe learned a few things, heard something interesting, and hope you had a good time. Thank you guys, too,
Thank
for
you.
Thank
coming out. This has been a production of the Sony Online Entertainment Community Team. Thank you very much.